All right, so this is a video about contextualization, and what we're going to do is take a minute to kind of analyze some released student samples from the AP World History exam. So just to start off, I want to mention really quickly what the purpose of contextualization is. According to Webster.com, the word context refers to the interrelated conditions in which something exists or occurs. And so basically, what you're trying to do with contextualization is talk about the atmosphere or the environment in which certain events take place and how they fit into a bigger picture. In fact, one effective way of thinking about it is when you're talking about trying to tell a story with your paper, the contextualization you can think of as the bigger story. What is the big picture? What's going on, in multiple different places? And then, of course, the topic of your paper is, is your thesis statement. That could be considered like the little story. What's the little story that fits inside of the big story? What's the thesis that fits inside of the contextualization? So, generally, the contextualization is placed in the introductory paragraph. I think that's best for you to try to do. That. However, I will also mention that contextualization can, the AP readers will give you credit for contextualization no matter where they find it in the essay, but we should definitely try to strive to put it in the introductory paragraph. Additionally, you should think about it almost like a funnel. So starting off with, you want to start out kind of broad and work your way down to more specific. Now, eventually, the most specific part of your introductory paragraph should be your thesis statement. So again, working from broad, contextualizing broadly in the beginning, and then getting a little bit more specific and providing a bridge over to your thesis statement, meaning making some type of connection from the broader context to the topic of your thesis. So let's take a look at this excerpt here. This student is writing about the Afro-Eurasian empires, and I'll just go ahead and I'll actually read the question to you really quickly, so we can all be aware of what's actually being asked here. So the question is: in the period circa 400 to 1450 CE, the decline and reconstitution of empires in regions such as the Mediterranean, Middle East, and East Africa affected the expansion or decline of cities across Afro-Eurasia. Develop an argument that evaluates how the process of decline and reconstitution of empires led to changes in urban development in Afro-Eurasia in the period circa 400 to 1450 CE. So if we come back over here, let's see how this student does with their introductory paragraph with contextualization. In the period 400 to 1450, Afro-Eurasia was home to the rise and fall of many empires. Okay, so they're starting off, they mention the period that they're discussing and the region that they're discussing, and the fact that it was home to lots of different empires that rose and fell. These interactions between people of different empires helped to fuel urban development. Okay, and there's the specific connection to the actual question. So the first two sentences here are their contextualization, which I'm going to highlight. And again, the first sentence, in the period 400 to 1450, Afro-Eurasia was home to the rise and fall of many empires. That's the broadest statement, and that's where it really probably should be, is right at the beginning. You're just making a very, very broad statement about the region as a whole, the time period as a whole, and then they get a little bit more specific by talking about the interactions between those empires led to urban development, and urban development is the topic of the paper, right? So this would earn a full point from College Board for contextualization. It does a nice job of explaining what all is going on during this time period and makes a connection to the topic of the paper. So they get the full point.